back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, we'll be breaking down or predicting the four-card fights for UFC Fight Night, Almeida versus Lewis. But before we get into the four-card predictions, we're going to do some recaps, some talking about, last week's card, predictions or whatnot, the results, and then we're going to jump to this thing. And another thing, I just thought of like mid-video, we could talk about Ngannou as well. And Ngannou, that was big for him. It might not be MMA, but that's what MMA legend, still lineal heavyweight champion. So probably mention him a little bit. But yeah. So as far as last week, well, it was I don't know. That wasn't even last week. Because last week was just Ngannou. We didn't have no fights last week, so it feel like we keep having fights and having no fights. So that's why it's kind of a little discombobulated because it's not just back weeks that we having fights. But yeah, I believe I went like 7-4-1. I think I don't know. I feel like actually might have been more fights that fell out than that. It might have been 2 fights that fell out. I just feel like a lot of fights fell out on the card. Yeah.
It was I believe Javid Bashra and the Magomed Ankalaev fight. Both of those were no contest.
Yeah, both done. Yeah. That ain't even probably that. It was like some fights falling. So it was like a lot of fights falling out, a lot of no contest stuff. So I think in reality I probably would have been 9-4, but 2 of those fights fell out. But I feel like the people that we're gonna win just happened to end that way. But yeah, I went 7-4. My parlay hit. I can't really fully recall. I put Makhachev in there. Kamzat, and then one other fight. But that 3-fight parlay that I mentioned on
Victoria Dudakova.
Oh yeah, Dudakova. So you remember better than I did. But yeah, Dudakova. So that 3 parlay hit, and I had some other parlays hit, like the public parlays I have in the Discord, the premium ones, and a bunch of the props and stuff hit, and the money lines hit. So it was a good week. But like I said, I just haven't been thinking about it too much. But like thinking about the next one. But yeah, so parlay hit. It was a good week. But Nicky Best, how you do it last week or the week 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah, I went 8-2, and then the 2 that fell out were just the no contest. I missed big on the parlay. I just went too big. I thought that Alexander Volkanovski proved himself, and I think a lot of people after the fight said he wasn't prepared, which is probably the facts. I was really confident on the over 1.5, 2.5, and 3.5, and Islam just obliterated him in 60 seconds. It felt like it was over. But it was a great card. If you bet on my winners, which I had a lot of those, like Sher Magomedov, Islam Ikram, and Islam, a lot of different eyes and Hamzats. But yeah, it was a good week for as far as my card goes. As far as the parlay, I'm gonna do a safety parlay this week. I'm gonna make sure that I can give people something to win off of and not just go wild because I think I know the best. I'm gonna keep it safe this week. But what do you think's next for Ikram?
Ikram, let's see. Ikram had a real good performance. I feel like he had the most. Well, Islam had the most impressive performance, but I feel like Ikram had the second most impressive performance. Because I feel like I didn't really respect his striking all that much until that performance. Not to say that Warley Alves, welterweight coming up middleweight is like the biggest test in the world, but the way he did it and how clean it looked, dominant it was, definitely showed that he has gotten a lot better since losing to Kamzat Chimaev. The other ones I couldn't say so much. I was like, that guy got no chin, or that guy I already seen him fighting. He wasn't that good, so I wasn't super impressed with his performances. It's not like he did nothing that was crazy against those guys. But I don't think Warley Alves ever been beat that bad. Again, he coming up from welterweight to middleweight, short notice and all that other stuff, and not really true middleweight, but still great performance from him. I can't really think of a next potential matchup, but I think maybe try to line him up with Bo Nickel or maybe
that would be a good fight.
Yeah, Bo Nickel could be a good matchup for him, but they might say, oh, he's too experienced with Bo Nickel. But yeah, that's probably the one I can think about right now. I can't really think of too many other matches for him, but it's probably plenty of other guys. Maybe a Chris Curtis or something like that. Give him a guy that's kind of ranked on the cusp of being ranked, and that'd be a good match. I think he's definitely ready to start, climbing the rankings or at least challenging the rankings. He no longer needs to be on the training wheels. I think that performance solidified that. What about you?
Yeah, I love Ikram. He's won me so much money. The guy he just gets better each time. Every time I watch him, his performance is just better than his last. As far as his opponents go, I think 7-14, which Chris Curtis is 14 and Roman Dolidze is number 7. We have Jack Hermanson. I don't think he should fight Hamzat again, right? Not right now, at least. Brandon Allen, Kelvin Gastelum, and Nasruddin Imavov. I think the Nasruddin Imavov fight, which was supposed to happen, I think he should either do that or Roman Dolidze, and I think any one of those makes the most sense for him. But yeah, I was just incredibly impressed as well. I knew he was going to dominate, and I made money off his domination, and I definitely appreciate it. I got him inside the distance for sure. But what do you think's next for Hamzat?
Next for Hamzat, Hamza, I was not impressed with his performance, to be honest. But I think he's really injured right now, so he could potentially have
He
got
has
the next
a
title shot.
he has a torn ligament in his hand.
Yeah, so who knows how long he might take off for that, because he might feel like his performance wasn't that good despite using that little injury as an excuse for his performance. I think the injury wasn't really a big a part of it. I think that's just how he looked. He never really been a guy that looked super phenomenal for 15 minutes. He looks good, dominant maybe 1.5 rounds, but he's definitely a guy that, has cardio issues as well and has not fully addressed them. I don't care how hard he trained or how he look in the gym. In the cage and actual fights, he has never looked like a guy that looks phenomenal from round one. He never been no cardio fiend. He never been no guy like that. So, and surprisingly enough, going to middleweight ain't helping too much either. Like, it's still the same issues. You think come up to middleweight, not having to cut to 170 will give you better cardio. But again, he fought at 170 before. I think we fought Ikram that was at 185, I believe. So I don't know. But yeah, I think Sean Strickland would be a good matchup for him, but I feel he might decide to say, I'm gonna take my time off. I'm still a big star. I could call for the shot whenever I want it now after I beat Usman, even though Usman has no fights at middleweight. He could sit around and wait. But yeah, if he does come back, I think it should be a title. So whether Sean Strickland got the title or somehow Costa come in there or wherever, I would like to see him fight Costa next. But he's not gonna want to take a step back. If he already feel like he earned the title shot or they giving him the title shot, he's not gonna take a step back. So it's probably only going to be a title shot, whether it be Sean Strickland or whoever holds the belt, whether Sane decides to come back from his mini retirement and somehow wins the belt back, or Strickland beats him again, or some other guy come in the mix. His next fight going to be a title shot. How you feel?
Well, Izzy said he's taken like 3 years off, so I just can't even imagine putting Izzy in the line to fight Hamza. I think 2 through probably 5 or 6, Paulo Costa to Dracus du Plessis, any one of those would make sense. Robert Whitaker, Jared Cannonier, Marvin Vittori. But I think Dana White said it. Whoever wins this fight gets the title shot. And I think that's what he should do. I think that there's not too many, Ikram's just broken into, the top 15 probably, and he should fight. Hamzat has earned his title. I think you're absolutely right. I think that he's more like an Ilya Topuria situation where Ilya's done his work, Hamzat's done his work. They're just going to wait out the time until they can fight for the belt. But what do you think's next for Islam after that performance?
Islam, I think he's going to fight Charles Oliveira next. I think he wants the Leon Edwards fight, but I think he should just fight Charles Oliveira, or if Charles Oliveira is still not ready, or they don't think he's worthy, or whatever they want to think about it, then so basically it's either, in my opinion, what I would want for him, I would say Charles Oliveira again or Justin Gaethje. And I would actually want him to win 2 more fights. Matter of fact, both of those guys. I think we got 2 defenses right now. Tie the defenses by beating Charles Oliveira again or beating Gaethje again. Or either way, I would say tied by beating Charles Oliveira again. And then beat Justin Gaethje. Now he has the lightweight consecutive title defenses and I guess total defenses at 4. And I think the record's 3 tied with Khabib, BJ Penn, and Ben Henderson. So break that record, be the first one to do it. So that'd be much more impressive than trying for that Leon Edwards fight. But how you feel?
Man, I was so impressed with Islam. I think because he got it done so quickly, he should turn around very quickly and fight Charles Oliveira. I don't really want the Justin Gaethje fight just because I like Justin Gaethje a lot. Like I really think he's a great fighter, and I think Islam will probably try to do the same thing that Khabib did, which is throw in a little bit of striking and then just take him down and hold him down and figure out how to submit him. So I don't really like that fight. The Charles Oliveira fight makes the most sense, and then give the guy the 170 shot after Leon Edwards versus Colby Covington. But I definitely like the Charles Oliveira fight for him. I think that makes the most sense. And then like you said, beat the record and then obtain another belt would be the ideal path for him. But that's my thoughts.
All right. And that was pretty much all your questions. So Now Ngannou, I guess this is my question, or my topic. Ngannou went out there and fought Tyson Fury, came in as a big underdog. A lot of people just were writing him off. I myself was not like really giving him a whole lot of chance. I would say he's gonna go the distance, which he did, and I thought Fury beat him by decision. Would beat him by decision, but yeah, that was a great performance. And to ask the question that, what do you think is next for Ngannou? That you think he should just wait around for that rematch? Probably get like 30, 40 million for that fight in a rematch, or try to fight a Wilder, or should he stick to MMA, or what do you feel is next for him?
Man, I love Francis Ngannou. I love the fact that the odds were so awesome for that fight. We don't really put those predictions on here. I wish I could have, because Francis by KO was plus 550, and Tyson Fury by decision was plus 650. So I bet both of those and I won big. But I think Tyson Fury should, Francis Ngannou should either wait for the rematch, because he's Tyson's gonna fight I forget how to say his name, Olechek, and so I think he
That's
should.
Alexander Usyk.
Alexander Usyk, exactly, yeah. So he has to do that fight because he's already signed the contract for it. And then I think Francis should really just sharpen up his boxing skills and continue with the boxing, just because I think he can make more money that way. Everybody would love to see him fight again in the UFC or some form or fashion. Yeah, I know he signed to the PFL, so maybe a cross promotion type thing, but I don't think Dana White would ever be down for that. He didn't let him fight Tyson Fury under a contract with them, so I don't see them Dana White mixing the two. But yeah, I was really impressed with Francis Ngannou. I thought he was either going to knock him out or Tyson was going to go the distance, and it was won by a point, 1 point. That's what Tyson Fury got. So I was super impressed. And Tyson Fury, man, he's so slick, like so big, so he looks like the Marshmallow Man, but he's just so tight and so concise, and he gets knocked down by these heavy hitters, and he gets right back up and just does what he's got to do. So I'm very impressed with that as well. But those are my thoughts.
All right, cool. In my thoughts, I think yeah, the best thing for him probably do is stick to boxing. But the PFL contract's pretty good. But I think he could do that as well. I think he could try to do he has more power now to try to draw some boxers over to MMA, especially some lower tier boxers, maybe not the premium. Like I don't think the Furies, Usyks, and Wilder's going to try to do MMA for him. But maybe some these other boxers who are lower rung probably gonna feel, or maybe younger boxers gonna say, I'll challenge you in MMA so I can make some money over there or whatever. And, put my name out there. I'll go to you where you are. But the guys that feel like they're on his level or above, they still ain't going to challenge MMA. I definitely think he can make more money in MMA. I think he could even renegotiate his contract and make more money. But yeah, I definitely think both of them gonna take. I feel like he should not give up MMA fully, because there's definitely still some fights on the table, especially if they could secure the John Jones fight, or even just some legend fights against maybe like a World Doom type of thing or something, or bring well, he already knocked over him, but Fedor or something. It's anything. They could always make things happen. The money is there, and they can make it happen. So I definitely think some options there for him in MMA, and definitely I feel like with Boston, they probably gonna be a lot of years waiting, and I feel like he has the most years left in his tank. But he's made some good decisions, so I think he'll make the right decisions, whether it be boxing, MMA, or both. I think MMA, obviously, his best money will come from a John Jones matchup. That's probably the biggest thing. But outside that, boxing by far the biggest thing he gets from. So yeah, that's about all over for the topics. Now on to the predictions. So in our first fight, we have in the lightweight division, we got Cowie Fernandez versus Mark Jacasey. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going Cowie Fernandez, low confidence, to beat Mark Jacasey. And the reality is there's just not a whole lot of tape out there on Cowie Fernandez, so it's not like you could say, oh, high this, low this, blah, blah, blah. Like not really a whole lot of this. But yeah, I'm going Cowie Fernandez. I feel like Mark Casey hasn't really had a good success rate against Brazilians, or he hasn't had a good rate. He does. Most of the losses have come by club and sub, and Brazilians are the premium, the best club and subbers in the world. And Cowie Fernandez comes from a good gym. He's one of like those mysterious fighters who's going to probably make himself present very, very quick in the UFC with this performance. Casey has a tendency to get in club and sub, and Cowie Fernandez is a well-rounded fighter. Has good BJJ, good striking. Probably going to catch Casey's attention very early, And, force Casey when he's panicked, he instantly goes to wrestling, instantly gives up a neck. And I'm thinking like a first round submission, Calvin Fernandez probably instantly puts the pressure on Casey and forces him into a wrestling situation, especially with Casey not really knowing who this guy is. I think he's gonna be too eager to shoot a maybe not the best takedown, a panic type takedown. And I think Calvin Fernandez is going to take full advantage of that, lock in a submission and tap him out first round. How do you feel about this one?
Yeah, so I was gonna go Cowie by decision just because I do have a lot of respect for Mark Casey. He's lost 2 of his last 5, and that's 2 in a row. He's definitely a solid striker. I'm pretty sure he used to kickbox, like he was very big in it. Not big name, but he was big into it. But it looks like he's been using his wrestling a lot, like you said. And I think in this fight, it's going to be a mistake. I think the younger, more not I wouldn't say experienced, but the more the person who's on the better trajectory. Cowie's won 4 of his last 5, and he's 8-1. But like you said, there's not a lot of tape on him, so it's hard to make a solid. Oh, I know he's going to come in and he's going to take him down and he's going to submit him, or he's just going to ground and pound him and beat him that way. So I'll go low confidence, Cowie inside the distance. I was going to go by decision, but I agree with you. I think this fight is going to, happen inside the distance at some informed fashion.
Cool. Inside the distance. All right. And you said you got Calvin Fernandez winning in the distance?
Yep.
All right. Now to our next one, we have in the women's strawweight division, we got Montserrat Conejo Ruiz versus Eduarda Mora. And so strawweight division, how I feel about this one right here is I'm going Eduarda Mora, average confidence to beat Montserrat Conejo Ruiz, or just Montserrat Ruiz. Yeah, I just feel like Montserrat Ruiz don't really a one-dimensional fighter. She got some striking, everybody got a little bit of everything, but in reality, what I would classify her as a one-dimensional fighter. She's undersized, gritty grappler, and I just feel like Eduarda Mora is just bigger, younger, and better. And I feel like she's a better striker, better grappler, and I just feel like she can go out there and just use that size along with that skill to, beat her pretty handily. And I think she gets her out of her second round submission. This beat again, bigger, younger, better. And there's only see an angle for Ruiz in this one. So in this one, I got Eduarda Mora via second round submission. Now we're taking bets.
Yeah, Eduardo Mora has a beautiful record, 9-0. She stopped 8 of her last 9 opponents. But my issue here is the -500. I don't really have an issue with her winning. I think like you said, it's pretty average confidence that she will win. But -500, it's just really heavy for me because you don't get a lot of bang for your buck, even if you do. The Bong Themes, Jalton Almeida, and Renat Fakhri, it's like plus 200 or something you'll get if you combined all those, and it only takes one of them to lose for you to mess up the record. I did bet her in a 12 leg parlay, just because I got 100% bonus on my bet, so I just did it. It was only $25. So it's not like I have a lot of stock invested in her, but Montserrat, she's definitely a decorated wrestler. She, I guess, was a wrestling champion in her country. But her size is terrible in this one. She's got 6 inches in both height and reach deficiency, and I think that Eduardo Mora is going to be able to capitalize on that very heavily. Montserrat's only 5 foot. Eduardo's 5'6", and I think she's just going to be the bigger, tougher. I think if there's an atomweight division, Montserrat would do impeccably well, because she would be fighting people her size. But she's in a division where the women are probably cutting 20 pounds, and she's probably cutting 10 or 15 at the most. And so I have a medium to low average confidence in Eduardo Mora in this one. I think she gets it done by 3rd round submission. So in this one, I got Eduardo Mora, 3rd round submission.
All right. Now to our next one, we have in the women's strawweight division, we got Angela Hill versus Denise Gomez. So women's strawweight division, Angela Hill versus Denise Gomez. How I feel about this one right here is I'm going low confidence. Angela Hill to the beat. Denise Gomez. I feel like Angela Hill is just a better overall fighter. You can say Denise Gomez has grappling, but I feel like there's very few submission wins on her record, and there's no submission wins or really even no real good submission success in her UFC tenure. So that angle is not really that big, or it's not really that, I guess, fruitful, or it's just not really there as much as you would want it to be there. But hey, she's a young fighter, and she's still at that point where she could change who she want to be. Like, she shifted to this knockout artist in her last two fights, so she could shift back to a BJJ masterclass. So she definitely still at the point where she could shift, change her narrative. But I like Angela Hill in this one. She's been still, like, not even that long ago. Like, just last year, she but she beat what? She beat
Oh
Lupita
yeah.
Godinez and
Yep.
Dakota, who both are women who have accomplished a lot, and they're doing much better than Denise Gomez at this point, at least as far as level of competition. Lupita Godinez is, at least kind of like middle of the pack of the weight class right now, whereas Denise Gomez is still breaking the division. So she beat two women who have accomplished. I think Dakota was coming into the UFC as a champion of a victor or something, or at least a several time contender. So she was coming, like, fighting people that have accomplished a lot more and at a higher level, and also are young fighters and not like over the hill fighters. So she's beating some real solid talent not even that long ago. And I think with Angela Hill at this point, she's really losing like not like main event fights. She's losing like not title, but she's losing like main event fights and fighters like top 15. That's where she's kind of losing at. She's beating those fighters outside of top 15, maybe just at the bottom of top 15, but she's not losing to prospects. That's where she's thriving at. She beat Loma Lukabami, another good prospect. So I think she's still doing good at this point in her career, and still seems to be getting better in some sorts. And I think she can extend Gomez out of the first round and just outwork her, use that veteran experience. It might even score some takedowns on her as well. We've seen her be able to take down some fighters who have high level grappling skills. We've seen her be able to go rounds with high level grapplers now. At first, that was her issue. So she's worked on her weakest part of her game, and we haven't really seen her submit in a long time. So, we haven't seen her use her grappling as a strength a lot of times recently as well. So I think all those improvements and her experience will allow her to get another win over a good prospect. I still think she got enough juice in her to be able to do that. So in this one, I have Angela Hill via decision. Now over to Nikki Betts.
Yeah, I'm really on the fence with this one. I'm betting both ways on this one as well. Just because I see a path to victory for both opponents. I like Angela Hill, but she's 15-13, and I know that's almost 30 fights, but it's a hit or miss with Angela Hill. She either is like, she just comes out looking amazing, or she just has an off night, and I think that's what it's more of. I don't think it's the better opponent won. I think she's probably just having an off night. So, you never know what you're going to get. So that's why I will be betting both women in along with my safety parlay. I'll bet them two different ways. But for Denise Gomez, she's 8-2, won 4 of her last 5. She loves the stand up. She loves the dog fight. I think Angela Hill doesn't mind getting in there and doing the same. I think she's more of a technical striker than a brawler. But I think this is going to be a really good fight. I think we're going to be able to learn a lot, and I'm definitely going to bet it both ways, but I'll go the opposite on this one. I'll take Denise Gomez by decision. I know that is probably not as likely as Angela Hill winning, but I have a good amount of confidence in Denise Gomez, and as well as Angela Hill, but I'll just go the opposite way for this one.
All right, cool. And she has more chances. Well, I guess I say she has more chances Gomez does. So
Right.
all right,
but it's a pick 'em, so
yeah,
it could really be a good bet for both parties.
yeah. All right, now on to our next one. We have in the light heavyweight division, we got Vitor Petrino versus Modestas Bukauskas. And how I feel about this one right here. I'm going high confidence Vitor Petrino to beat Modestas Bukauskas. Bukauskas, hasn't really had a stellar performance in the UFC yet. No, he kind of minor upset. Maybe it was in a major upset, but he upsetted Tyson Pedro a little bit. And then last fight, he really lost, in my opinion. I picked against him to lose, and I feel he lose. It wasn't even a case of, I picked the other guy, so I was biased. I just watched the fight. He did not look good in that fight. Zach Paga was like kind of up there in age a little bit, and Also, Roy, like probably like a late starter who just don't have the talent, all that much talent, but a decent IQ, but limited skills, limited technique. And Zach Pago was out there touching and rocking him like just in every single round. And they're not like how Modestas Bukakas sport did. He feel like he just was getting outworked and getting hit with the heavier shots. Well, he landed higher shots, but I feel Zach Pago landed, the more telling shots that he had the bigger moments in like just about every single round. So I feel like it was a clear enough decision for him, but I guess the judges had different plans for that fight. But the way he was getting tagged against Pogba, he can't afford to get tagged like that against Petrino, and I think Petrino will touch him early and often. I think he'll get him out in the first round. Yeah, that's feel like Bukaki is just not gonna have the movement and not gonna deal well with the pressure or power of Petrino. I think Petrino just gonna run over him. So in this one, I got Vitor Petrino via first round TKO. Now over to Nikki Betts.
Yeah, I like Vitor Petrino in this one as well. He's 9-0, also 5-0. He's definitely a great striker who can work his way up to his feet when he's trying to get when the person tries to take him down, and he can also be an aggressive grappler when he gets into position. I think he did like a Superman slam on his Contender Series fight. The guy tried getting him in I think a triangle, and he just picked him up and blew his head off. So I think he's definitely got a lot of power and a lot of grit. But I also do like Modestas Bukakas. He is 15-5, but won 4 in a row. So I believe there's too many question marks in this fight. I do think Vitor Petrino wins. I'll probably bet on him just because of the odds. I probably won't bet on Modestas Bukakas, but I do like both fighters. I think this fight is a huge test for Vitor Petrino, and if he passes the test, it'll give me a lot of confidence in the future against more skilled opponents. So in this one, I got Vitor Petrino by decision.
All right, cool. Now to our next one. We have in the welterweight division, we got Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos versus Renat Fakhretdinov, and high school brothers right here. Is I'm going Renat Fakhretdinov, low confidence to beat Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. I feel like Zaleski dos Santos is a very well-rounded fighter, and he does have a style that can pose a lot of interesting threats to Fakhretdinov because he can mix in his own takedowns and score takedowns on Fakhretdinov. We don't know how Fakhretdinov will look off his back. He can work off his back and attempt submissions on Fakhretdinov or initiate submissions to get back to his feet. On the feet, he's very aggressive, very fast, very explosive, very dangerous, and he could cause Fakhretdinov a lot of issues in this one. But I like Fakhretdinov's momentum. Really the majority of his competition has been like not even to cans, been toilet paper, like trash, like flushable. He's really started been fighting, a couple decent competition. Before Kevin Lee off like 3-year absence, and before Brian Battle, there's always a little asterisk on those wins, but he's been fighting at least some decent competition now, and been looking pretty good, and he got some momentum behind him. So I'm gonna lean to that momentum, and I feel like he can at least win the battle of takedowns and be on top more if necessary. Then on feet, I think he can start a little earlier than Elizeu. I think Elizeu can be at times a slow starter, a little bit of a slow starter. And I feel like Renat can take advantage of that slow start, get off to a quicker beat, and then when he needs to, he can mix in the wrestling to be able to corral Elizeu and draw off his pace and draw off his timing and throw off his chaos a bit. And I think this will be a competitive, close fight, but I think Fakhretdinov gets it done in a decision victory here. So in this one, I have Renat Fakhretdinov via decision. Now up to Nikki Betts.
Yeah, I definitely had a super high confidence in Renat coming into this one, and then I watched the tape on Elizeu dos Santos Zaleski, and I was impressed. I was impressed against that he won against Abu Bakr or Nurmagomedov. I think that was a great win for him. But I think Renat is just on a trajectory that Elizeu isn't on. I think Renat's made me a lot of money, and I hope that he continues to do so. I don't have to say too much about his skill. I think everybody knows he's a very aggressive wrestler / submission artist. But Elizeu has that capoeira, which she uses to get real clean strikes, and he has decent takedown defense. But I think Renat finds it at some point and finds a way to take him down and finish him. So in this one, I got Renat, medium confidence, inside the distance.
All right, cool. Now on to our next one. We have in the bantamweight division, we got Daniel Marcos versus Victor Hugo. And how I feel about this one right here is I forgot that go lower average, but I'll go low confidence. Daniel Marcos to beat Victor Hugo. Victor Hugo is a kind of a wild card, and they are fighting in Brazil, so we don't know how much that's going to factor, whether it be judging or whether it be motivation or whether it be being closer to your home and stuff will affect. But this is an interesting matchup for sure. But it's judging based off their skill and not no judging potentially or hometown advantage or hometown bonuses or anything like that or hometown motivation. Yeah, I was just not impressed with Victor Hugo's last fight, to be honest. He got the job done, and the stats might look like it was close, and like he just was close round, and then he just got it done. But when you really watch the fight, I feel like his opponent was the more composed fighter, was getting the better of the positions, but his opponent made a bad mistake by, having his back and then gonna keep feeding his leg between his leg, which opened up the knee bar that ultimately end the fight instead of just like keeping your leg on the outside a little bit, or maybe just really just avoiding that position in general. Maybe kind of just weighing on him a little bit in that position, but not feeding your leg through. Not really trying to initiate a takedown as much, but just trying to weigh on him a little bit. Probably do some little toe stomps, a little bit, knees to the body, elbows to the body or something. Just like mixing little shots, but instead of trying to, really trying to go for any type of grappling against him. Because again, that's where his, I guess, best attributes are on the ground, submissions. But his opponent, that was where his opponent was lacking a puzzle piece. He just fought a bad stylistic against the guy, or at least not bad stylistic, but he made a bad decision, or repeatedly made the same bad decision that ultimately caused him to lose. But I feel like Daniel Marcus is of a higher caliber. I think he's the better, more technical striker, and I think he can push a better pace, maintain that pace. I feel like Victor Hugo kind of comes out with a lot of steam. And he can easily fade. And I also feel like with his steam, I feel like Daniel Marcus can exploit him, make him miss shots, counter, make him pay for those shots. Feel like he could probably make some takedowns of his own, but not really play as much in the guard. Maybe look to pass to half guard to shut off those knee bars and stuff, or just side control and just really try to avoid playing anything with the legs with Hugo. But yeah, I think this is going to be a close competitive fight for sure. But I think Daniel Marco's UFC experience will come through, and I do think he has better conditioning. I think he's the more complete fighter, and I think that will show. So in this one, I got Daniel Marcos via decision. None over to Nikki Betts.
Yeah, I definitely agree across the board. Victor Hugo has a pretty clean record, 24-4. He's on a 13-fight win streak. I know he hasn't fought that much in the UFC, but he's definitely on a path where he can beat Daniel Marcos. But however, I think Daniel Marcos is just too solid of a fighter for him to be able to work around any mistakes that Daniel Marcos might make, because he doesn't really make too many. In the fight against Davey Grant, it was a boring, slow fight, but he outpointed him, and that's how he won. I think the same happens here. I think that it's going to be a close decision. Daniel Marcos is 15-0, definitely well-rounded. And he likes a phone booth fight, but he likes it to be technical, and that's where he thrives. So I think if Victor tries to slug it out with him, he's going to figure out that Daniel Marcos is just a little bit slicker, and it's going to frustrate him, and he's just going to end up losing, rounds 2 and 3. So in this one, I have Daniel Marcos by decision. Hold on.
All right. Now to our next fight, we have in a catchweight bout at 165 between Elvis Brenner versus Kanan Kruszewski. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going low confidence I'm going low confidence Elvis Brenner to beat Kanan Kruszewski. But yeah, definitely low confidence. So it could easily be Kanan Kruszewski, but low confidence here. I definitely like Elvis Brenner a whole lot more against Esteban Bobovic, who clearly had grappling issues that Elvis Brenner could deal with. He can exploit, and I feel striking wise, he can definitely hold his own with Robovics. But going in with Kanan Kruszewski, I feel like Kruszewski is going to be a tough test everywhere. Tough test in the grappling, tough test in the striking. But yeah, very dangerous lightweight here. Big lightweight, a skilled lightweight, talented in every single aspect of it all. Athletic, good striking, good grappling. This guy's a problem. But I think the fact that he's coming in on short notice, I think that will help Brenner. And also the fact that Brenner has had, 2 tough stylistic matchups in both fights. He went in a guy who has solid wrestling, forced him to strike and beat him on a close decision. Then he went in there with Guram Kudalaze, who has, a BJJ black belt, good wrestling defense, good grappling, supposed to be a much more technical striker. Huh? Yeah,
Trains a
trains
ton.
comes up. Yeah, all that stuff. So he went in there with, I guess, tough tests in both his fights. And I think full training camp, coming off 2 fights that were tough tests and finding ways to win. I feel like that's going to help him coming in with Kucheski, who's, getting his feet wet in the UFC. Like, he might have a contender series win, but he's taking a big step up in competition, short notice, another Brazilian in Brazil, and Brenner, who has, he has earned his stripes in the UFC. So I think Brenner will be able to edge this one. I think this will be a very close fight. I think actually Khrushchev's going to look very good in the first round and probably like going to pull off the upset. But I think Brenner's going to be able to rally, use that experience to be able to make those adjustments and be able to dig deep and, use his, training camp, use that experience in the training camp to be able to dig deep and be able to work harder, when in the clutch time. Whereas Khrushchevsky coming on short notice and also not having that UFC experience is not going to have necessarily the same drive or the ability to drive like Brenner will in those moments. I think that's what's going to shift it. Like being able to scramble, being in reverse positions at times, and then be able to drain the clock time off the clock or win top position and be able to pick the pace up. I feel like Khrushchev's going to start to fade at points in this fight. I feel like Brenner's just going to turn it up, be a land clean shots, switch the offense, push Khrushchevsky on the back foot, score his takedowns and stuff. And this, like, again, just a really gritty fight, but Brenner's training camp and his experience and his level of opposition in recent fights as well, particularly, is going to allow him to be able to, do what he's been learning and what he has been having to do ever since he stepped foot in the UFC. Fight tough matchups and come out and win. So in this one, I have Elvis Brenner via decision. Not over to Nikki Betts.
Yeah, I didn't know about this fight until you let me know beforehand. I thought because Elvis Brenner was supposed to fight Esteban Ribovics that I knew what I was gonna say in that. And in this one I wasn't very familiar with Kuchevsky, but I do remember him fighting in the Dana White's Contender Series. I do remember that now, and he did very well. But he, like you said, he's fighting Elvis Brenner, and Elvis Brenner is the Guram fight got me because I bet on Guram in that one, and it bit me in the rear end. So I definitely am not going to doubt Elvis anymore. I'm not going to even give it a inkling of a shot that he might lose because he fights with the shootbox guys. He fights with champs like Charles Oliveira, and he's one of the really good shootbox guys. There's a few shootbox guys that are so, and then there's ones that are almost top tier, and then there's the former champion. So I think they got a good team behind them. I think this is going to be a very, very, very competitive fight after what I saw Krzyzewski do in the Contender Series. I think it's going to pressure Elves Brenner to have to dig deep and find the win. But I think he does find the win in the end. I will definitely be betting on Elves Brenner in this one. But I might also bet on Khrushchevsky just because the odds are so close, and it might be sweet to get a little bit of plus 130 at some point. So in this one, I got Elves Brenner by decision.
All right, cool. Now to our next one. We have in our first fight on the main card, we have in the lightweight division, we got Ismael Bonfim versus Vince Pichel. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence Ismael Bonfim to beat Vince Pichel. Confidence could be a bit higher, but it's always kind of scary when a fighter has a certain way they lose and then you don't like kind of match up their way of losing. Even if you're supposed to win and stuff and you're the favorite and stuff, a lot of times when guys have a pattern of losing, like they seem to be pretty stubborn to lose any other way. And Vince Pichel, even though he's been inactive a lot of years, coming back, leaving. I think he only lost like 3 times. He hasn't probably fought like 7 times, only lost like 3 times. But yeah, all 3 of his losses have been to wrestlers. Like he has always lost to wrestlers, like Rustam Khabilov. He lost to Gregor Gillespie, and I'm forgetting the last guy he lost to. But all 3 wrestlers, that's why he always loses. And Bonfim might be a good counter wrestler and a good all around fighter, but he's not really necessarily a great offensive wrestler. But yeah, is a little bit airy. But outside that airiness of that, I do think Ismael Bonfim is a better fighter. He's younger. He's a more technical striker. I think he's a better grappler than Pichel. But Pichel, I guess, like the biggest thing about him is, hey, he only seems to lose to wrestlers, and obviously he's not gonna be like no super elite guy. But yeah, I'm talking too much about this one. I just feel like I think Ismael Bonfim is a better fighter. That is that one little thing, that experience, and the fact that he only seems to have one typical way he likes to lose, I guess, is a bit concerning. But outside that, this taboo bit. I feel like Ismail Bonfim's the better fighter in every asset, younger, stronger, more technical, and better every area. It's just again experience. So I think Bonfim should be able to outwork him, outland him. And I think he puts him out first round actually. So in this one, I got Ismail Bonfim via first round TKO. Now over to Nikki Betts.
Yeah, this should definitely be a layup for Ismail Bonfim. Vince Pichel is definitely a great fighter, but I'm pretty sure I've seen him be knocked out before, and that's what Ishmael does. That's his go-to. So I don't like the minus 520 right now it's at. I don't like that at all. I would probably go inside the distance for this one. That's probably what I'm going to lean to, just to be safe. It's just not very appealing at minus 500. But Vince Pichel has won 3 of his last 5. He's 14-3. I think this fight is very predictable. I think as long as Ishmael gets the momentum to knock out Vince Pichel, that's probably what's going to happen. So I think with that being said, it is very predictable. So in this one, give me Ishmael Bonfim inside the distance.
All right, cool. Now to our next one, we have in the middleweight division, we got Rodolfo Vieira versus Armen Petrosyan. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going average confidence Armen Petrosyan to beat Rodolfo Vieira. I just feel like in this one, Rodolfo Vieira, who has he really beat? Or who has he really shown a good fight against? As far as good fighters, he looked terrible against every decent fighter he's fought. No, who we got submitted by I forget the new name right now, but yeah, he got submitted. He got lost to Chris Curtis. I believe he lost one fight. In his last fight, even though he got a finish, he was getting outstruck. In a clinic put on him on feet by I don't know. All these names are freaking eluding me right now, but
he fought Cody
Brundage.
Brundage.
Yeah, it was Brundage. Yeah, Brundage was putting a clinic on him on the feet. So yeah, like pretty much everybody he's beating outside maybe like one fighter have been cut, or well, 2 of the 4 have been cut, and the other 2 are looking like they should be cut. So he hasn't really fought and beaten no one good. Whereas we've seen Armen Petrosyan do well against Kyle Rallo, who's a far better mixed martial artist than Rodolfo Vieira. Vieira might be a better BJJ specialist, but Kyle Rallo has a full package that Vieira just does not have. We see him going with Greg Rodriguez. If Rodriguez had him in some bad position on the ground, we see him be able to weather and get out of there. And you can say, oh, his grappling this, grappling that. He has never been submitted. So his one loss is by TKO. So he don't have no history of being submitted. It might be the best skill in his game, obviously, but I don't think it's like as big of a hole as people will want to try to make it out to be. And it's not like Rodolfo Vieira is a crazy pace pusher or a guy who has finished or beat anyone elite. He has not done that. And I think Petrosyan just came off of another big upset. I think he might have had like 2 or 3 upsets already, victories in his UFC career. So Petrosyan is like a solid fighter, and I think he can address the wrestling of Vieira, and I think he's a much more technical striker between the 2. So I think he can address the grappling. Now I feel like Vieira's gonna be able to go out there and score takedowns every single round, or at least do much with them every single round. I feel like his best chance is really first round, and if you're gonna stretch it like a round and a quarter, a round and a half, whereas I feel like Petrosyan could put on a striking clinic for as long as the fight lasts. And I think he gets a third round TKO kind of late in the fight. I feel like Vieira's gonna be tough throughout, probably be forcing takedowns heavy, even if they're poor takedowns, just to keep himself alive in the fight. He can probably come out early, aggressive with strikes, early aggressive with shots. But that team's gonna fade heavy after the first round, and then Petrosyan is gonna settle into the driver's seat and really start picking them apart. And the shots gonna get more desperate, more exhausting, more sloppy. And Petrosyan is only gonna get cleaner and be to take advantage of a shorter, tired BJJ guy. I think the third round, just like Vieira is not gonna be intelligently defending himself, and Petrosyan is gonna be too sharp and just be taking full advantage of that and put him away down the stretch of that third round. So in this one, I have Armen Petrosyan via third round TKO. Now over to Nikki Betts.
Yeah, I have friends from Armenia, and Armen is from Armenia, which is pretty funny. It's kind of unique that his name is Armen Petrosyan and he's from Armenia. The odds 108 to 112, very close. I think it reflects very well. I think you put it perfectly. I think that Rodolfo's a great wrestler. He's going to use his wrestling, and he could pull off a sub. He could pull off a KO by ground and pound. but he's fighting Arman, who's a very great striker. He's been training in Dagestan, and which is very close to Armenia. So he's been working on his ground game, and that's to be appreciated. So I don't think you should doubt him and count him out. I'll probably bet this one both ways as well. I know that I've been doing a lot of that on this card, but if I make 7 bets and 3 hit and I make $4,000 off, 1,000, I'm happy. I definitely see both ways for each fighter to win. Obviously, Rodolfo, it's on the ground, and obviously Arman, it's on the feet. Arman's won 4 of his last 5, but I think he's going to get tested in this one. I think this is going to be the biggest test he's probably ever had. And I'm going to go the opposite way. I will take Rodolfo by KO or sub, but I will bet this one both ways.
All right, cool. Now to our next one. We have in the we have in the middleweight division, we got Kyle Barallo versus Abuz Magomedov. So Kyle Barallo versus Abuz Magomedov. How I feel about this one right here. I'm going average confidence on Kyle Barallo to beat Abuz Magomedov. The confidence could be higher, as I said in a couple of these fights on this video, could be higher, but it's like in the fights when it's kind of shifted from probably a high to an average, is because there's certain little concerning things about this one. And really the concerning thing about this one is Abuz is a pretty decent striker. He looked pretty good against Sean Strickland through 1 round. And he does have a solid wrestling background, so he could use that wrestling and defense to keep Kyle Barallo on the feet, which could make things a little bit interesting. And it's also like Kyle Barallo is not really like this cardio fiend who could shoot 100 takedowns and still be fresh. Kyle Barallo, even shooting probably like 5 takedowns, would probably be exhausted. So Kyle Barallo ain't like really a cardio machine either. So both of them have had cardio issues. Obviously, Abuz has had even bigger cardio issues. So you got to give Barallo the cardio advantage in this one, but not by a whole lot or as much as you would love to have in this one. But yeah, I think Kyle Barallo is the better overall fighter. It's just some concerns stylistically that this could be one of those type of upset type fights. But I think Barallo should be able to pull it out. And I think even when we look at his contender series fight, he used his striking much more. I feel like in the UFC he's been using his grappling a whole lot, but his striking looked pretty sharp, outside the UFC on the contender series in both showings. But I think he kind of fell in love with the wrestling. But I think he'll be able to use his full skill set, especially if he feels the takedowns aren't there as much early. I think he'll be able to set up with his hands and his feet and his striking to be able to set takedowns up later, and also really to exhaust
Abuz.
Abuz Magomedov. And also there's advantage the fact that he's coming in on a training camp and Abuz is coming on short notice. So Abuz already having bad cardio issues, then coming on short notice, that will only help Kyle Barallo. But again, I think he'll be able to set up with his hands to later get the takedowns or get easier takedowns later on. Take Abuz out the first round, and really wear him down the first half of the second round, then put him away in the later half of the second round via submission. So in this one, I got Kyle Barallo via second round submission. Not over to Nikki Betts.
Yeah, we had a conversation about this one. I sent it to you as a proposition for one of my safety parlays, and you told me that you got to watch out for Abuz because he can wrestle, and his cardio is terrible. Like just what happened with Sean Strickland. I bet on Abuz in that fight, and I'm embarrassed because it definitely wasn't. I think Abuz's best performance. I think he has 25 fights, won 120. I mean, he's won 25 fights, lost 5. But I guess Sean Strickland's now the champ, so we know that he definitely lost to a game opponent. But as far as Kyle Barallo, he has great wrestling, and BJJ, he's an okay striker. But I think the fact that he trains with Hamzat, who now is the best in the world, in my opinion. I've loved Hamzat since the beginning, so I'll always throw him out there if I can. But I think Abuz can, if he can stay consistent and not empty his gas tank, which is very low, he might be able to have the upset. But I think that he has a lot of experience, but I just don't see him winning this one. I'm betting both ways on this one as well, but if I were to say who's going to win, I'm going to say Kyle Barallo. I'm going to bet on Kyle Barallo. I just think there's a little juicy money on Abuz's plus 235. I think it's not a bad game. Also probably over 1.5 will probably be live, but yeah, in this one I got Kyle Barallo via third round submission.
All right, cool. Now to our next one. We have in the heavyweight division, we got Rodrigo Nascimento versus Dontel Mays 2. These two fought before, and Rodrigo Nascimento made easy work of him the first time. But coming to this one, my confidence level will be low for Rodrigo Nascimento. He has come off like, what, 2 split decision wins or something, maybe even 3. He has not been looking exactly phenomenal in none of these fights. Dontel Mays hasn't been looking phenomenal either, but he's coming off a win over Andre Arlovski, where he got like his first stoppage win. So, yeah, I'm not really sure how to feel about this one too much. And people say, oh, Dontel Mays got power, or Dontel Mays is this and that. But Dontel Mays, up until his last fight, I don't think he had a single drop, and he had like at least 7 UFC fights, and not a single drop, not a single knockout, let alone a single drop. So the guy wasn't really known for power. And I'm not sure it's just that win's gonna motivate him to become more of a knockout artist or what. But yeah, it is what it is. I gotta go Rodrigo Nascimento here. I feel, not a whole lot of confidence, but I do feel like he has more threats. I feel like Mays is more of a decisionator. I don't know how, I can't really trust a knockout threat from him off just based off one knockout over like a 50-year-old veteran. So I think Nascimento's gonna be able to take him out of the first round, drag him to the mat, and then sub him in the second round. So in this one, I had Rodrigo Nascimento via second round submission. Now over to Nikki Betts.
Sorry, boys, I'm out of breath. I have to plug a computer in. So Rodrigo Nascimento, 10-1, won 3 of his last 4. Started off as a -400, now -175. I like that a lot. I will bet that. I'll bet it in a parlay. It won't be a part of my safety parlay, but I'll definitely use it. I'm a little bit out of breath because I was running around. Hold on. Deep breaths. He's fighting Dontel Mays. I definitely think it's an easy fight if Nascimento can get the takedowns. He won the first time around 3 years ago, I believe, something like that, 3 or 4. But give me Nascimento over 1.5 or by decision. I think it's pretty safe.
All right, that's your prediction and bet for this one. So Rodrigo Nascimento in the distance, well, not in distance. Decision, Rodrigo Nascimento.
Decision, Nascimento, and I will bet the over 1.5 as well.
All right, cool. Now to our co-main event, we have in the welterweight division, we got Gabriel Bonfim, not Ismail. We got Gabriel Bonfim, the bigger, younger brother, versus Nicholas Dalby. And how I feel about this one right here is I'm going high confidence, Gabriel Bonfim to beat Nicholas Dalby, and also high confidence to beat him in the distance. We have seen Nicholas Dalby in a now no contest fight get submitted in the first round by Jesse Ronson, who's like was Justo's mini lightweight who came up to welterweight, I guess, on short notice and was able to hurt him and sub him in the first round. Yes or no contest, but I think Gabriel Bonfim better than any version of Jesse Ronson, juice or no juice, bigger and much more skilled, much more talented, and younger, and all those other things. Anything you could say in this one. Nicholas Dalby's a solid veteran. He has a well-rounded skill set. He can give anyone, he not anyone a good test, but he has skills that can, hold up in all areas. Like as far as MMA, he can hold up in the grappling, can hold up in striking. Has good IQ, good cardio. He's a well-rounded fighter. But I think Gabriel Bonfim just his time right now. He's a very talented fighter. I think he's going to rise up to the top 10 at the very least. And I think this is going to be another just stepping stone in the way. And I think he gets it done as he has been getting done all these other fights, first round submission. I think he's able to hurt Dalby. I think he's able to put him away first round via submission. So in this one, I got Gabriel Bonfim via first round submission. Now over to Nikki Betts.
Yeah, I definitely think Ishmael is a safety bet in this one. I'm going to bet him inside the distance and also under 1.5, just because I think his record is 80% submissions, 20% by TKO, 0% by decision. And his average fight time is only 2 minutes and 5 seconds. Like most fighters, they're 7 or 8. This dude only has 2. So I gotta equate that into my bank of knowledge as far as what I think of Ishmael Bonfim and what I think he should do. Like his brother, I think this should be another layup on the card. I believe Dalby will challenge Bonfim at some points, but Nicholas Dalby is a decent fighter. He's a good average fighter fighting a great talented fighter. So that's kind of what I see as this fight being. I don't think that Nicholas Dalby at all will just lay down and let Gabriel take him, but I think Gabriel will work for it and get it done. So I definitely have Bonfim inside the distance, and I got Bonfim under 1.5.
All right, cool. Now to our next one. We have in the heavyweight division in our main event, we got Jelton Almeida versus Derek Lewis. Derek the Black beats Lewis, and how I feel about this one right here is I'm going high confidence Jelton Almeida to beat Derek Lewis. There's some concerns. Derek Lewis is a wild card. He come out with flying knee, knock him out, overhand, uppercut, front kick, who knows, spinning back kick, jumping switch kick. He can surprise you. So Derek Lewis definitely not no one to sleep on. But Jelton Almeida just seeming like it's his time, and he definitely the more well-rounded fighter. Now, it's not like Derek Lewis has ever really shown technical wrestling defense or not too much of that. And I think it's gonna be some early issues, maybe through the early first minute or two. But I think once beyond that first 2 minutes, I think Jelton Almeida is gonna be to set up his takedown, drag him to the mat, look to work, and then be able to find that submission and tap him out first round. So in this one, I got Jelton Almeida via first round submission. And now over to Nikki Betts.
Yeah, man, Jelton Almeida, I definitely think he's the best wrestler / Brazilian jiu-jitsu in the heavyweight division right now. I think Tom Aspinall is definitely a great counterpart to maybe beat him if he can beat Sergey Pavlovich. So I do like that fight, but I see this one, two heavyweights inside the distance, a very easy play for me. It's either Derek Lewis gets his flying knee, like you said. I actually wrote that one down as well, or he gets a lucky KO, which I don't think Jelton Almeida will allow to make that mistake, because Derek Lewis is just so dangerous with his hands, and even we found out with his knee. But yeah, so in this one, it's going to be part of my safety parlay. I'm going to do inside the distance, but I'm going to do another play of Jelton Almeida inside the distance.
All right, cool. So that wraps up the predictions. Now to the parlays, my parlay and Nikki Best's potential parlays. But I'm gonna start off with my singular parlay. So my parlay will include in the distance in the Almeida Lewis fight. So the fight won't go the distance. In the distance, or a fight doesn't go the distance. However you want to type it up, however you want to play it on your betting app or betting site or your casino. So first one, Almeida versus Lewis, inside the distance. Then the second one will be along that parlay will be Gabriel Bonfim in the distance. Then the third one on that one will be Cowie Fernandez inside the distance. And then the fourth leg of that parlay will be, let me see, who's the fourth one? I was already thinking about the fourth one. The fourth one will be Eduardo Mora. So that would be the fourth one. So the four things are Cowie Fernandez inside the distance, Eduardo Mora money line, Gabriel Bonfim inside the distance, and Almeida versus Lewis doesn't go the distance. So that's the four things. So once again, Almeida versus Lewis doesn't go the distance. Gabriel Bonfim wins the fight inside the distance. Cowie Fernandez wins the fight inside the distance, and Eduardo Mora money line. So that's my four pick parlay. Now Nicky back with his parlay.
So yeah, in this one I got Renat over 1.5 between him and Elijah dos Santos Zaleski dos Santos. Renat's average fight time is 10 minutes and 18 seconds. Elijah's is 12 minutes and 21 seconds. So I think it's a very safe bet, over 1.5, not any money line on that. I didn't want to go big this week, but I'm gonna try and make it happen. Elves Brenner and Kanya Khrushchev. I probably will go over 1.5 as well. That'll be one of my bets. And then Ishmael Bonfim, Gabriel Bonfim, and then Jelton Almeida. That fight I will do inside the distance. So my whole parlay is Renat, his fight over 1.5, Elves Brenner over 1.5 for the fight. Ishmael Bonfim, Gabriel Bonfim, and Jalton Almeida. That fight to go inside the distance.
All right, solid. And that wraps up your parlay.
Yes, sir.
All right, and that wraps up the video. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and come back for more videos. Peace.